Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brad from the band The National Pool, and welcome back to our series on do-it-yourself album covers. This is episode 5, and today we're going to be getting into the good stuff. We're actually going to be adding some text to an image. I just wanted to thank everyone for bearing with me on the first 4 episodes where we kind of covered a lot of the copyright law aspects of this. I know that that's not the most interesting thing to talk about, but nonetheless, it really needs to be considered when you're manipulating images and stuff that you didn't create yourself. So for today's example, we're going to be using an app called Over, which is available in the iTunes App Store for both iPhone and iPad, as well as a picture that I chose from the U.S. National Archives on Flickr, and I will be posting a link to this image in the description below. The image is titled Open Garbage Dump on Highway 112 North of Sebastian, 02, 1973. And I chose this image just because of the overall aesthetic just looks awesome. So does everything from this Documerica series. This has a really warm vintage tone to it. There's also a lot going on in it, but yet there's still room for space for text. Now, before we actually bring this image into Over, one of the things that we're going to have to do is crop it down so that it's a perfect square. Now, you could do this later on if you want, but at this point, since we're adding text immediately, we're going to want to get it into a square. You can do that natively within the iTunes photo app. I'll show you here. And just find a decent area on this photo that you think would look good as a square, and then hit done. Now let's talk about the app Over. If you've ever been into the iTunes store and added your own text to photos, you know there's definitely no shortage of apps that will do that. This is the one that I ended up sticking with throughout the past few years. I feel like I've tried probably 4 or 5 different apps just to add text, and this is the one that I landed on. It looks like it's now changed over to like a freemium model. There's a lot of different in-app purchases. They have fonts for pictures, pro photo editor. I don't know what all this stuff is, but depending on how much you want to do with this app, you can kind of customize it from there. And this is the one that I would recommend. This is the one that I use. So at the top here, just click Photos, and then this image, if you saved it from Flickr, should be in your camera roll, or you can download it on your computer and email it to yourself. I do that quite often, just kind of emailing back and forth. So once we open this up, if we're holding this vertically, there's going to be 4 different areas at the bottom. In this example, we're doing it horizontally just so that it looks better on YouTube. So, of course, the text is on the 2 letter A's, and let's just type in band name, and you don't have to use capitalization just yet. Go into style, caps, and then here's where you can change like all caps, small caps, all that kind of stuff. I typically like to use all capital letters for mine, and again, this will just vary by your style of your band. And there's a pretty good variety of fonts here that would work for a variety of different styles. Maybe some of the cursive stuff would be more singer-songwriter type stuff. There's some stuff that would probably look good for funk, for grunge bands. Now, the one I use for most of my album covers under the National Pool is the font called Quicksand, which is great. It's just a really thin font. It's just the one that I decided to stick with, which I didn't do for a while, and eventually I just wanted to give some consistency throughout all my releases, and that's what I would suggest that you do as well, is just find a font that you really like and just stick with it for every single that you drop, every album that you drop. But just go ahead and take a few minutes and just kind of browse through the fonts and just kind of see what really pops out at you. In this example, I'll go with Quicksand just because that's what I'm used to. And as you're kind of moving this font around, you'll see that these yellow lines pop up, and those are going to be vital to keep the text centered in the image itself. Now, in this example, we're going straight into it with adding the text, and this is not something that I typically do. Usually what I like to do is add more stuff, kind of glitch it out, and really kind of mess with the photo a little bit before adding text. But in this case, we're just going to get right into it. We're just going to type in album name. So we have band name at the top, album name at the bottom. And for this one, we have to go back to the style, caps, all caps. We're going to put the album name at the bottom because that's where there's the most space. And what I like to do here in each case of the text, be it the band name or the album cover, is to make the text as large as possible while keeping it in one line. So you can do that with your fingers, with two fingers just kind of stretching it out until it starts to flip over into stacked text, and then you just kind of go back slowly to make it one line. Or you can change the spacing by double tapping on the text, clicking space, and then using this little scroll bar here to change that. And then that'll kind of get you a more fine-tuned approach. So that's pretty much it. You can go up to the top right-hand corner and hit Save Image, and this is where you're done if you want to be done. So for some of you, this may be the end point, where, you know, you just find an image, add some text to it, your album cover's done, boom. So in that case, thank you for hanging with me for 5 episodes here. But there's so much more to show you, and that's what we're going to do. So for me, once I add text to an image, that's really kind of only the halfway point for me, really. Because this text is so kind of clean and digital, it doesn't really mesh too well with the background image, which is all vintage and 70s and stuff. So that's where I like to try to, you know, tastefully add, 1 or 2 filters, just doing whatever it takes really to make sure that the text blends into the background better. And I'm not necessarily talking about opacity here, although that is certainly something that you can use as well. But really, for me, I like just to add filters, mess things up a little bit, and then through that, the text kind of blends into the image on a deeper level. And I suppose it's worth noting as well that this app does have like lots of artwork and little silly stuff like that. That could totally be for you. It's not for me, so I'm not going to cover it just because I've never dealt with it before. But if you click the, looks like they have some shape presets and some little goofy, icon pictures of robots and badges and God knows what else. But nonetheless, this is a great app, and like anything else, just spend some time with it. In the next episode, we're going to be covering an app that can really add a ton of filters, really, really unique stuff with lots of hands-on control, as well as just kind of blanket filters and stuff too, where you don't have to sit there and tinker with stuff all day if that's not your thing. So thank you all for tuning in to the Do It Yourself album series, episode 5. Once again, this is Brad from the band The National Pool, and hit subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. We have a lot more to cover in this tutorial series, and I hope that it's very helpful. Thanks.